Yeah, I did change, and I'm really glad I changed.
This One's Wife. Pity Play. My rare and scary health battle. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. You will be aware that today This One's Wife's first episode of her Confessions of a Female Founder series has become available on Lemonada Media. I can also tell you I won't be listening to it, as I've got much better things to do than listen to her self-absorbed nonsense and vocal fry. Nevertheless, there are other people that will do, and I'm going to utilise what they explain about the episodes to utilise that information for the purposes of demonstrating yet more about This One's Wife's narcissism. This time, there is a range of different manipulations and aspects of the narcissistic dynamic at play, primarily under the auspices of a pity play. This One's Wife is a mid-range narcissist. Mid-range narcissists can either be A or B. Whether they're A or B, they're passive-aggressive. They present a facade to the outside world, differing types of facades. They see themselves as kind, decent, good people, although their behaviour demonstrates that they are not. With This One's Wife, like any mid-range narcissist, she will use pity plays, because her narcissism tells her that she is the victim, that the world is a cruel and venal place, where she is just trying to do her best, and all of these racist, misogynist haters have it in for her, that things go wrong and it's not her fault. Why does it always happen to her? She will utilise mishaps, whether they are real or imagined, for the purposes of eliciting sympathy from those that she's seeking to assert control over. Whether it might be telling Harry something, telling her mother something, speaking to a friend about something, or more widely, to people reading about her or listening to her. The pity play is a staple of her narcissistic weaponry. It's used, as you'd expect, to bring people under control and to draw fuel from them. You might think that a narcissist might see themselves as so supremely brilliant that they could never admit to failing at anything, but it's not really an admission of failure, because it's never the narcissist's fault. The narcissist can recognise that things go wrong, that something didn't work out as it ought to do, but it's never as a consequence of the narcissist's fault. Invariably, it's something or somebody else's fault. And this remains the case with This One's Wife. She will utilise mishaps for the purposes of their exploitation. Rather than demonstrating a stiff upper lip and getting on with it, any kind of mishap, whether it's real or imagined, will be commandeered by her narcissism for the utilisation of the pursuit of the prime aims. Pity plays are something that a mid-range narcissist will use extensively. Most likely in private interactions, but from time to time we've seen This One's Wife dole them out. For instance, nobody asked me if I was okay when she was interviewed in Africa by Tom Bradby. I'm the most bullied woman on the internet, as she has said in the past. So pity plays are something that she utilises, and we see it again. Her new series is meant to be about discussions with female founders, but we all know it's going to be a self-indulgent, self-absorbed wankfest for This One's Wife. And Jasmine Carey, writing for the Daily Express, tells us, This One's Wife has opened up about a rare and scary health battle she faced shortly after giving birth. The Duchess of Sussex revealed in the first episode of her podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, that she suffered postpartum preeclampsia. This is a rare condition that occurs when women have high blood pressure, along with excess protein in their urine soon after childbirth. Speaking on the podcast to her friend and Bumble founder, Whitney Wolfe Herd, non-intimate secondary source in This One's Wife's fuel matrix, This One's Wife said, "We both had very similar experiences, though we didn't know each other at the time, with postpartum, and we both had preeclampsia. Postpartum preeclampsia. It's so rare and so scary." She continued, and you're still trying to juggle all of these things, and the world doesn't know what's happening quietly, and in the quiet, you're still trying to show up for people. Oh, she's such a martyr. Mostly for your children, as a mum. But these things are huge medical scares. This one's wife did not talk about the symptoms she experienced with the illness. However, according to the NHS, symptoms can include headaches, pain, and vomiting. Well, as you would expect, this one's wife has to make it all about her. But what are we witnessing with this disclosure? First of all, she's mirroring. It would appear that Whitney Wolfe Herd experienced postpartum preeclampsia, and therefore, in order to elicit sympathy from her guest and to assert control over her as a non-intimate secondary source in her fuel matrix, she suggests that she has had a similar experience. This is not born out of emotional empathy. This is mirroring by a narcissist. I don't believe that she did experience postpartum preeclampsia for the following reasons. 1. As a narcissist, she makes things up. Not always, but often. 2. She is mirroring her guest, which is something that she frequently does, which is often done by narcissists for the pursuit of the prime aims. 3. If she had had postpartum preeclampsia, we'd have heard about this previously. After all, this one's wife can't help but share so many aspects of her life because of her victim mentality, and therefore, Archie having been born some 5 years ago, we'd have heard about this far sooner. It would have come out, for instance, in the Oprah interview. But she's never mentioned it before. And lo and behold, she just happens to mention it when somebody else has experienced it for the purposes of bringing attention back onto her, so it's not all about her guest. Remember that when this one's wife is undertaking these interviews, it's really a platform for her. She's an awful interviewer because she doesn't prepare properly, and she's not interested in the people that she's talking to because she's too busy needing to pursue the prime aims and make it all about her. Accordingly, Whitney Wolfe Herd can't explain that she's had postpartum preeclampsia. Indeed, she might not even want this mentioned. And this one's wife shows no boundary recognition, mentioning something that is a personal health condition for Whitney Wolfe Herd by reference to herself as she mirrors. Furthermore, I don't believe that it happened because she talked about leaving the hospital within 2 hours of giving birth. Well, if that was the case and you had postpartum preeclampsia, no physician, no doctor, no nurse would allow you to leave. And therefore, if she did leave as early as she did, which again I find doubtful, but I just simply don't think that this actually occurred. She'd have mentioned it sooner. It's indicative of the lies that she tells and also the mirroring that the narcissist engages in. What she's doing here is she mentions it in the podcast to assert control over Whitney Wolfe Herd by mirroring her condition, by ensuring that she gets to talk about herself, and then more widely eliciting sympathy, or at least seeking to do so, from those that are listening. So they think, oh gosh, how terrible, a rare health battle. It's not a health battle at all. If she did have this postpartum preeclampsia, it would have lasted for a period of time and then she'd have been discharged. A battle is something that goes on for a much longer period of time. For instance, battling cancer, battling MS. You don't battle postpartum preeclampsia, which also suggests to me that this is a fabrication on her part because she over-dramatizes. Naturally, it has to be scary because it needs to be dramatic to cause people to respond favourably to her. But ultimately, the way that I see this is that the first thing that comes out of her new podcast is nothing about the guest that is of particular interest, and I'll be covering more about this first episode in a separate video, but she immediately comes straight out of the traps with a pity play. Feel sorry for me in relation to my invented, rare and scary health battle that I've had. It's all about me. Once again, we see so many aspects of her narcissism at work. First of all, the necessity, as always, of the pursuit of the prime aims by virtue of control and the drawing of fuel, the utilization of the manipulation of pity play, the utilization of the manipulation of mirroring, the utilization of revising history by inventing something that forms part of the mirroring and also the pity play. Do you agree with me that this is a fabricated and invented event, or do you disagree? And if so, if you do, let me know why in the comments section. But, as ever, this one's wife demonstrates her narcissism by ensuring that the first episode of her new podcast is all about her. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.